I used to think I knew every inch of Ethan's house. The creaky third stair, the hallway where light never quite reached, the scent of coffee and worn wood. It was a place I ran to when mine didn't feel like home. Over time, it became more than a refuge. It was where I felt seen. Ethan, my best friend since high school, had always been loud, unpredictable, comforting in a chaotic sort of way. His older brother, Cameron, was the opposite, quieter, brooding, the kind of guy who spoke with his eyes more than his words. When we were younger, he barely acknowledged my existence. But recently something shifted. Cameron had started to linger longer when I was around. He'd glance across the room when I laughed too hard at one of Ethan's jokes. Sometimes I'd catch him standing at the kitchen counter, pretending to scroll through his phone, but clearly listening to our conversation. I tried to brush it off as my imagination, but the stares lasted a beat too long. The silences felt full of something unsaid. I never told Ethan. What would I even say? Hey, I think your brother looks at me like he knows all my secrets. No, that would have gone badly. Noah, my boyfriend, didn't know either. Not because I was hiding anything, but because lately it felt like we were just coexisting. He used to check in with me, ask how my day was. Now, half our conversations were just him nodding at his phone screen. When I mentioned things that mattered to me, he responded with, "That's nice, babe," like a reflex. That Saturday, Ethan had invited me over to hang out. He was running late, so I let myself in with the spare key under the mat. The house was unusually quiet, like it was waiting for something. "Jamie?" Cameron's voice echoed from upstairs. I paused, surprised he was even home. "Yeah, it's just me," I called out. A moment passed. Then footsteps. Cameron came down the stairs in a fitted black t-shirt, barefoot, holding a mug, like it was the only thing grounding him. His eyes met mine for just a second too long. "Ethan's not here yet?" he asked, voice calm as always. "Nope." He texted. Said he's running late. Should be here soon. He nodded, then motioned toward the living room. "You can wait in here." I hesitated, but followed him. The room was dim, blinds half closed. He sat at the far end of the couch, legs crossed, sipping his coffee. I took the opposite side, leaving a respectable distance. But I could feel his presence like gravity pulling at me. "You've been coming around less," he said, breaking the silence. I shrugged. "Been busy. Life. Work. Stuff." Cameron stared into his mug. Or maybe something's changed. I looked at him, searching for meaning. "What do you mean?" He finally looked up, eyes unreadable. "I see more than people think I do." Before I could respond, he stood and walked over to the living room door. He turned the handle, and then I heard it. Click. Locked. My pulse jumped. "Why'd you lock the door?" He turned to face me. His voice was quiet but firm. "Because I need to say something I probably shouldn't, and I don't want to be interrupted." My mouth went dry. "Cameron." He stepped closer, still a few feet away, still giving me space. "You're not happy with him, are you?" I froze. "With Noah?" He nodded. I swallowed hard. "I don't know what that has to do with you." "Everything," he said softly. "Because I've been watching you hide it. Because I've been watching you try so hard to smile when your eyes are screaming for something else." The air felt tight. The space between us shrank, not physically, but emotionally. I felt seen and terrified. "You shouldn't be saying this," I whispered. "I know," he replied, "but I wanted to say it for a long time. I just needed a moment where you'd finally listen." There was no touch, no kiss, no dramatic music playing in the background. Just two people in a quiet room, everything too loud inside their heads. I stood, heart racing. I should wait for Ethan outside. Cameron didn't stop me. He just looked at me one last time and said, "The door's not really locked. You can leave any time." I turned the knob. It opened, but I didn't step out right away. I didn't go back to Ethan's house for a week. Not because I was avoiding Ethan. He wouldn't have known anything was different. It was Cameron I couldn't face. Not after that moment on the couch. That nearly touch. That promise he didn't act on. But the memory followed me everywhere. in quiet rooms, in Noah's distracted voice, in the silence between texts and the way my body ached for something I couldn't name. Noah had been trying, in his own way. He sent flowers to my office, left a takeout dinner, waiting when I got home. He even asked if I wanted to go away for a weekend, something spontaneous. But I could tell it wasn't for me. It was for control. Reclaiming something he never realized he'd lost. I said I was busy. He said, cool, and never followed up. One evening, I lay on my bed scrolling mindlessly through my phone when Cameron's name lit up the screen. Not a call, just a message. I meant it when I said I wouldn't cross that line without you. But I'm still here. In case what you need isn't someone to fix you, but someone to see you. It was the kind of message that sat in your chest like a stone. Heavy but honest. I didn't reply right away. I reread it, then again, and again, and then I realized something terrifying. I didn't feel guilty. That's when I knew I had already crossed a line. Emotionally, if not physically, it was never about lust. It wasn't about rebellion or thrill. It was about being noticed, being known. I met Noah the next day at a coffee shop halfway between our apartments. Neutral ground. He smiled like he was hoping everything would be okay. I didn't smile back. I told him the truth, not all of it, but enough, that I didn't feel loved anymore, that I didn't recognize myself in the reflection of his eyes, that I had been holding on for so long I forgot what it felt like to be held back. He didn't yell, didn't cry. He just sat there, staring into his cup, nodding like it was all happening to someone else. That's it, he finally said. I'm sorry, I whispered. You could have fought for us. I looked up. I did, but I was the only one fighting. That was the last thing I said to him. Later that night, I walked past Ethan's house. Lights were on in the kitchen. I could see movement. I knew Ethan wasn't home. He had posted a selfie at a concert just an hour ago, which meant Cameron was alone. I paused at the gate, heart hammering, unsure what I was even doing there. Then I turned around and started walking away. I only made a few steps before I heard the door open behind me. Jamie. His voice stopped me cold. I turned around. He stood in the doorway, barefoot again, backlit by the hallway light. His expression wasn't eager. It wasn't smug. It was careful. You came back, he said softly. I nodded. I didn't plan to. Why did you? I swallowed the knot in my throat. Because I wanted to stop pretending. And you're the only person I haven't had to pretend with lately. He stepped back, holding the door open. Do you want to come in? I didn't answer. I just walked forward. This time, the door stayed unlocked. Inside, everything felt familiar again, but different. Like the house had exhaled with me. Like something had shifted. We didn't touch it first. We didn't need to. We sat side by side on the couch, not too close, not too far. Like before. Except this time, the silence wasn't filled with tension. It was peace. I broke up with Noah. I said quietly. Cameron looked at me but didn't say, good. He didn't smile. He just nodded, eyes gentle. I didn't want to be the reason. You weren't, I said. You were the mirror. He leaned back, fingers just barely grazing mine. So what now? I didn't have an answer, but I didn't need one. Because in that room, with no one watching, no need to justify or explain, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Warmth. And this time, when our fingers touched again, I didn't pull away. I didn't leave the house that day. Not right away. I stood there, fingers still on the doorknob. The hallway just beyond it glowed with late afternoon light. The world outside felt simpler, easier. But in that room, with Cameron just a few feet behind me, things were complicated in a way that felt real. I turned back, slowly. He hadn't moved, just stood there with his arms crossed, eyes heavy with something between restraint and desire. You said the door wasn't really locked. I said, it wasn't, he replied quietly. Still isn't. I just needed you to hear me. No distractions, no pretending. I let go of the doorknob and walked back toward the center of the room. Every step felt like a decision I couldn't take back. You shouldn't talk to me like that, I said, trying to sound firm. He gave a faint, almost apologetic smile. I know, but you didn't leave. That hit harder than I expected. I sat down, not far from where I had been earlier. Cameron stayed standing, as if sitting would shift things too far, too fast. I don't know what you think you see, I began, but Noah and we're just going through a phase. Cameron raised an eyebrow. A phase that's lasted a year? I looked away. I hated how easily he peeled things open. He always seemed distant before, but now he saw through me like he'd been waiting for this moment all along. Relationships get quiet sometimes, I said defensively. He stepped forward, slow but deliberate. Quiet is one thing, but when someone makes you feel invisible, that's not silence. That's absence. My chest tightened. He sat down this time, on the same couch, though still a safe distance away. His voice softened. Do you know how long I've noticed you? He asked. I shook my head. Since the first time you came over. You laughed so loud that Ethan's dog started barking. And you had this wild energy, like you were trying to fill every empty space in a room with your presence. I scoffed lightly. That sounded like me. But over the years, he continued, I saw you get smaller, quieter, and it wasn't growing up. It was something else. Someone else. I swallowed hard. You don't even know me, I said, barely above a whisper. I've spent years trying not to, he said. The room went still again. There was no music, no dramatic thunderstorm outside. Just two people suspended between right and wrong, aching for something neither of them could name. I don't cheat, I said suddenly, almost to myself. I've never crossed that line. Cameron didn't respond right away. Then he said, I'm not asking you to, but you locked the door. Only so you'd stop running from the things you won't let yourself feel. That sentence knocked the breath from my lungs. I wanted to deny it, but the truth was I hadn't felt anything this raw, this alive in so long. Not with Noah, not with anyone. Have you ever? I trailed off, not knowing how to ask the question. Cameron seemed to know. Been with a guy? Yeah, a few years ago. Nothing serious. So I'm not into labels, he said, but I know what I feel when I look at you. His honesty hit harder than I expected. Not rehearsed, not calculated, just laid bare. He reached out then, not to pull me in, not to kiss me, but to place his hand near mine on the couch. Just close enough that if I moved even a fraction, we'd touch. I didn't move. Say something, he murmured. I'm scared, I admitted. Of me? No, I said. Of what this means. We stayed like that for minutes that felt like lifetimes. Then, without thinking, I shifted, just a little, until our fingers touched. It was small. It was nothing. And yet it was everything. His eyes searched mine. I won't do anything unless you want it. Nothing happens here unless you make that call. That was the line. Not a demand. Not a plea. Just a simple truth. I pulled my hand back, stood, and walked to the door again. I need to go, I said. Cameron didn't move. Okay. I turned the knob, opened it, and this time I stepped outside. But the touch lingered. The silence followed me. And somewhere deep down I knew that wasn't the end.